New York, 1952. Quiet, hardly friendly, he didn't talk long, he didn't get involved. He seemed to have stepped out of the void of history. But in the corridors of Moscow, his name was whispered reverently in the intelligence corridors. Rudolf Abel, a heavy-duty KGB agent, the Shadowmaker, the master of masks. From Berlin to Brooklyn, he was born in Germany, but found his purpose in Moscow. He was recruited during the Cold War, as the continent simmered in the flames of deception. He was shipped to America in silence, through a complex series of false identities and unsmiling faces. In Brooklyn, he rented a small apartment above a Lebanese grocery store. Everything about him was ordinary: a heavy coat, a fedora, a notebook in which he wrote only in code. But he possessed something others didn't: the ability to be nobody. His favorite art was painting oils. He sold them in small galleries, attracting the admiration of intellectuals, but no one knew that each painting carried a coded message addressed to Moscow. The colors weren't just paint, they were visual codes, false lines that told of military sites, nuclear tests, or Pentagon conversations captured in dark rooms. He hid his shortwave radio behind a painting of a weeping woman, broadcasting messages every Tuesday at midnight in a metallic voice. "The storm is approaching. The crow is on the nest. Get ready." In July 1957, something he hadn't expected happened. The ring of agents in New York was captured. One of them, a young, weak-hearted Russian, was arrested and confessed to everything. He didn't name Abel, but described him as an unsmiling man who painted a lot and liked bitter coffee. One gray dawn, the FBI knocked on his door. They found him reading, as usual, and drinking his coffee. He didn't seem flustered. He just raised his head and said calmly, "You were going to come sooner or later." In the courtroom, he looked like a ghost of a man. He denied nothing, but he didn't confess to everything. He said only, "I am a soldier in a war where no blood is seen." He was sentenced to prison, but Rudolf Abel's story didn't end there. In 1962, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, he was exchanged for Gary Powers, an American pilot held captive in the Soviet Union. The exchange took place on the Glienicke Bridge, known as the Bridge of Spies, in cold Berlin. Abel stood there, in his gray coat, looking into the fog. He didn't look back. He returned to Moscow a hero. But no one knew where he went after that. They said he trained generations of agents. Others said he disappeared, just as he had appeared, without a trace. But within the corridors of the CIA, his name is still whispered. The Shadow Man knew more than he said, and said less than he should.